Hey gang, would you like to learn how to reset your nervous system in under 3 minutes? If you do, hang in there with me. We are going to learn some things today. Now, this is a common practice that I teach all of my patients that come into my practice because the reality is I want them to be somewhat independent of my services over time. And I want them to be able to practice something and a skill set that they could use in their everyday life. Now, the method and kind of like the little tool or technique that I'm going to show you, I do multiple times throughout the day. This is not like a one-time deal. This is not something that I do once a week. This is something that I'm doing multiple times a day in order to reset my nervous system. Now, the reason this is important, when I've taken EEG, brainwave scans, what it shows is that the tool and the practice that I'm doing here is actually allowing me to shift my brainwave patterns and shift my autonomic nervous system. Now, just to let you know, just to unpack that a bit more, the autonomic nervous system basically is that part of the nervous system that regulates the fight or flight response and the rest, relax, digest response. Now, for some of you, it's going to say, well, what about the freeze response? And okay, I'll give you that. You can have a freeze response in there too. Fight, flight, or freeze if you'd like, and rest, relax, and digest. Those two halves, like the gas pedal and the brake of our vehicle, are essentially the two systems in the body that regulate and help us to adapt with a changing environment. And the core of our health, really, when we look at what health is the ability to adapt to a changing environment. And when our nervous system gets fixed on one side or the other, if it goes to parasympathetic side, you're going to have challenges like, I don't know, diarrhea, excessive white blood cells. You're going to have the inability to get up and move and difficulty pushing that start button to get going in the day. It can roll out into depression. It can roll into self-worth issues. It can go into, I'm not enough. I can't do this. There's no way. I don't have the energy. All that type of stuff on the excessive parasympathetic side. On the flip side, on the fight or flight side, if it's a little too intense on that side, it obviously leads towards anxious states and anxiety states. But it could increase excess red blood cells. It could be too tight of musculature, like in a fibromyalgia type of condition. You're shutting down your digestive system. You're shutting down your immune system. So those things definitely get impacted when that gas pedal is being pushed too much. So either way, in the autonomic nervous system, you don't want it to be too slack, like a guitar string that's like wow, wow, too kind of wangy that way. But on the other side, you don't want it too pingy, like the really uptight anal type of individual, super hyper type A. I had a woman that was like, she said, I'm type triple A. And I was like, wow, that's insane. So you don't really ideally want to be fixed on either end. You want to be able to, like the yogis promote, that smooth wave of coherence and balance between the parasympathetic and sympathetic system. So just a nice flow. So how do we do that? How do we produce that? Well, regardless of what system we become a little bit fixed in, we want to begin to regulate that breath and regulate the movement of the body and the spine to be able to promote a kind of coordinated center point between these two. Now, the inhale represents the gas pedal. The exhale represents the brake in the system. And so by regulating the symmetry of your breath, you're inviting the parasympathetic and sympathetic system to participate equally. It doesn't mean that they become unhinged, but if we do it for 3 minutes, it gives the system a really good chance to actually become unhinged and kind of invite its system back into the flow again. So how do we do this? Well, it's very simple. I close my eyes. And the reason that I do this is because it allows me to get more of a vagal response, a more inward awareness of what's going on. As I close my eyes, the brain waves move from beta to alpha. Alpha is more of a meditative state. In that more meditative, more consciously relaxed state, it gives myself a chance to drop any of my defenses, whatever those are, and allows me to get into my own flow. What I do also is I place palm over palm. Palm over palm is a hand position that I was taught 20 years ago, but through experimentation, I've noticed is that it allows the system to feel safe and relaxed for a moment. And so I place my hands palm over palm right over my chest. And what I begin to do is breathing in the nose and out the mouth, which is a peaceful baseline breath. So I'll breathe in the nose and then I'll exhale out the mouth. Now, I won't just stop there, though. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to regulate the amount and the distance that the inhale and the exhale are expressing. So I'll choose something like 7 seconds in, 7 seconds out. That in the yogic world promotes alpha brainwaves. So I will be breathing in for 7, and then I'm going to exhale out for 7. If you join me, inhale for 7. And exhale for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the key is you do that for 3 minutes. What I've noticed in my own practice, I measure EEGs and heart rate variability, two measures, I suppose you could say, of how flexible and adaptable the brain and nervous system are. And what I found, generally speaking, when I'm doing training with clients, is that it takes anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes to actually be able to reset the nervous system, to like be able to unhinge it from, if the brake is too strong, it unhinges it. If the gas pedal's on too strong, it unhinges it. So that 3 minutes of kind of bathing in that system allows you to really feel the rhythm, unhinge from either end of the nervous system, and promote a nice flow. When you open your eyes after 3 minutes, you'll feel more present, more relaxed, more able. You're going to move energy from the stress centers to more of the prefrontal cortex areas, which just have you feel more alive and alert and awake and ready. And it's a way to begin to move your own energy. This is doable. This is not difficult. And I would say that if somebody did this anywhere between 3 to 5 times a day to interfere with the normal habitual patterns that are happening in their everyday life, they will notice immense changes in their well-being, from anxious states to depressive states to feeling motivated, to overcome, to become present again, to be with yourself again, to not get lost in those distractions. Again, 3 to 5 minutes, 3 to 5 times a day does amazing things. And if you think, as the old Tony Robbins saying is, if you don't have 10 minutes, you don't have a life. I really do say, if you don't have 3 minutes a few times a day to reset your nervous system, what are you doing? What are you actually up to? Especially if you're being challenged with different things like hyperanxieties or blood pressure issues or things that are where you're revved up. Take that time out to slow down. If you're lethargic, distant, distracted, a little bit ADD, this is a great refocusing exercise to pull yourself back into your own center again, to align yourself back up with life again, with yourself first and then with life. So to me, this is a simple, fundamental baseline exercise for somebody to take their well-being to the next level. I don't care how seasoned you are. When you close those eyes and you begin the breath again, it is like novel. It's like you haven't been doing it, but you know exactly what you've been doing. It's for a lifetime. But at the same time, it feels novel every time you do it. So I want to encourage you with that practice, a simple everyday practice. Give it a try. Try it out. Leave a comment below. If you like this, like, subscribe, do whatever you want. I'd love to have you on the channel. Every Wednesday night, we do some breath work. So check us out, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll teach you some breath work. I'm going to bring you through for about an hour, and hopefully you can join us. So anyways, have a beautiful day. Subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.